Hello and welcome to another episode of the Small Town Tourist Podcast, where we experience and explore everything that makes small towns great. I'm your host, Abby, and today we are getting into part 2 of our hang with Josh from Eminent Coffee Roasters. I am so excited. This is the part of the time that we had where I actually got to help him roast a batch of coffee and see how the whole process worked, and he kind of guided us through it. So I'm so excited to be sharing that with you today. Again, be sure to check out Eminent Coffee Roasters on Instagram and Facebook and all the things. I have all the links down in the show notes below. Please enjoy part 2 of hanging out with Josh.
So hopefully we can talk through the AC here.
Oh yeah,
It gets a little warm. So this is the cupping table. This is again where I told you I stand and I have to show gratitude to myself and where I've come and where we started. But yeah, sometimes it's just fun to look around, and I remember when this was an empty building. I remember walking through that door. Because as with every roaster, I started in the garage.
Yeah.
Right? And that's a fun story too. Had the Department of Ag out and everything, trying to get licensed to do what I do, and everything was good, green light, like just do this, 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 and this, and you'll be good to go. So I did all those things, and then they came back out and they're like, oh, you're on a well. Actually, no. Everything that you just did, all this money that you just spent to outfit your garage into a production facility, essentially, sorry, can't do it, because you're not on city tap water that is full of chemicals as well.
Right.
Which, do you use water in the production and roasting of coffee? I don't know, I've been doing it for years and I couldn't tell you when or where you need it unless you start your roaster on fire, and then you have other problems.
Put the fire out.
The mobile carts and everything, yeah, I get that. You know, you need
Right.
water, you need to wash
But
your
there's no
stuff.
water that goes through the machine.
No, it's not a fluid bed roaster. Like there's no water involved in that at all. Unless I start a roaster fire, then again, I'm throwing water into the drum to put the fire out, or
Right.
spraying it. Probably not doing that. I'd ruin my roaster. So yeah, long story short, that's where I tried to start. Again, right out of the gate, thousands of dollars down the drain for nothing, and the state's not going to give you that money back. Good luck
No,
with
God,
that.
no. Once they have it, it's theirs.
So yeah, immediately from the get-go, it was like, all right, you're already thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars in debt, and you're stuck. Literally can't do anything. But again, Facebook Marketplace, stumbled upon this place, and it was exactly what I was looking for as far as a coffee roastery. Like a small retail space up front, a tasting room, cafe, micro cab, whatever you want to call it. And then your production facility in the back.
Yeah.
So yeah, saw it, walked through the door, and it's like, fuck, this is it. Like, this has got to happen.
When you
we're
know,
two
you know.
blocks from the Mississippi River. Like, come on.
Yeah.
How cool is that? On a street, busy street, walkers all the time.
All the time.
Can't ask for more.
So tell me about this roaster, because this is quite the contraption.
Yes, so it's my pride and joy at this point. Oh man, I don't even know where to start. So it's a company out of Turkey. As much as I wish I could say I bought an American-made roaster, or one that was made in Minneapolis, like Mill City Roasters, they're based out of Minneapolis, you know, world-renowned roaster manufacturer. But again, one dude chasing a dream, shit's expensive.
Yeah.
This was more affordable for me at the time. And honestly, like I have zero complaints about this whatsoever. The only small gripe that I have is that everything on that control panel is in Celsius, and I can switch it to Fahrenheit so that I can monitor my roast profiles in Fahrenheit, but there's a like a high limit temperature alarm in the background that I cannot change to Fahrenheit. So if I'm running this in Fahrenheit, I get like halfway through a roast profile and it starts fucking screaming at me because it thinks it's 350 degrees Celsius, and then you have to sit there and listen to it go through its alarm. And I don't know if it's gonna shut off randomly after a certain amount of time with that alarm going off. I'm not gonna try it. I'm not gonna waste a batch of coffee trying it. So I just run it, and I've got a data logging program that I run from my laptop. So I monitor everything right off live time. What do they call that? Real time data. Tracks my green coffee inventory. As I drop a batch of coffee in, it subtracts that from my green coffee inventory. I can look at the very first roast I ever did on this machine. Every single one is logged. You can go back in and like, okay, this is a beautiful roast. It ran great through the machine. It tasted great on the cupping table. Like, that's my reference for this coffee. Okay. And you can go in and you can star that exact roast that you did 4 months ago, and every single roast that you drop going forward will have that exact graph with all of the gas adjustments, air adjustments, time, temperature, everything right there on the screen for you, and you're following that. You're tracing that with your new roast profile or your new roast graph which you'll see when we run this here in a second.
That's amazing.
So if your charge temperature is too high, too low, again, the ambient temperature, whatever, and you drop your coffee in and you're like, oh shit, like it turned or it got way too, it's not on track, right?
Yeah.
You can tell how far off you are and you can make adjustments to try to get back on track, or because that sometimes will change the profile of it once you actually get to tasting it. So you can, again, just look at it and like, okay, I'm, this far behind, this many seconds behind my reference profile, my reference curve. I need to add this many seconds, or you just make adjustments.
Yeah, you adjust on.
And we'll get into the phases of roasting and all that as we do this. I don't know what we want to roast today. It's the end of the week, so I have literally nothing over there. So let's just pick something. We're gonna pick something fun. So I showed you what the washed coffees look like, right?
Yes. So for all the audio listeners, it looks like almost like lentils. Like you buy a bag of lentils at the store, and that's
or
what it looks
soybeans
like.
or whatever.
Just like bagged beans, essentially.
So yeah, I don't think we were recording when we were talking about that.
No, not when I first showed up.
But yeah, so that was a washed coffee. These are processing methods. I'll try to go quickly through it. After harvest, again, it looks like a cherry tomato. And within that cherry tomato, there's 2 halves of a seed. So you get 1 12-ounce bag of coffee. I'll let you do this experiment. Count out all those seeds, how many you get in 12 ounces, and then think, all right, divide that by 2, right? That's 1 coffee cherry. So how many coffee cherries did it take to make your 1 12-ounce bag of coffee? Minus defects, or what have you, that are all hand sorted. When they're harvested, they're picking out cherries that look bad. They do a float test. If they float or sink, they skim them off the top because those have defects on the inside, stuff like that.
And do they do that all on like the farms that you're buying these from?
Yes,
okay.
Multiple steps along the way. So they do that during harvest, after it's milled, and they can see the raw seed. They'll hand pick, hand sort from there. After it's dried, before it goes into the Grain Pro bags or the burlap sacks, whatever we want to call them. Again, hand sorted, picking out defects. Once it gets to me as the roaster, and I take it from this bag and put it in this bucket before I drop it into that machine, if I can visually see that something was missed, or it's like, okay, that one looks like it might be an issue down the road, I'm just gonna get rid of it right away. And you can see that pile over there. That's just from Monday's roast. Those are all defects that were pulled in the cooling tray. So even after it's roasted and it's cooling in that tray, I'm standing over the top picking out things that look askew, that aren't uniform.
Like, I love coffee. I would not survive on this planet without coffee, but I've never once thought of all the hands that need to touch it before it gets into my cup.
Yeah, pretty wild. And then even after it's roasted and it's over, before it goes into a bag to be sent out to the consumer, I'm still doing the same thing. If I see a bean that's just a different color, I'll most likely pull it out, get rid of it altogether, because you can have 1 defect bean in an entire pot of coffee and it will ruin that entire pot of coffee.
Just 1 bean.
Just 1 single defect will ruin that entire batch. I need to grab my computer real quick.
There's an analogy for corporate America right there.
Yeah. So yeah, hand sorted all the way through. And again, you're not going to get that with a $12 bag off of the store, $12 2-pounder off of the store shelves.
Definitely not from that Christmas flavor variety blend I bought off of a clearance rack.
Yeah.
That was all horrible. That was a bad idea.
I just got, I won't say the name, but I just got something sent to me from a specialty coffee roaster. And maybe this is just my personal opinion, so take that for what it's worth, because I got a lot of them. But it's flavored. It's artificially flavored coffee from a specialty coffee roastery. So if anybody is listening and has plans to open a coffee roastery and spend your hard-earned dollars on specialty grade coffee beans, and then you're gonna flavor them with artificial syrups, stop now, quit now. Don't quit your day job. I don't understand it. Maybe I care too much about the work that's put into it beforehand, but like,
it just doesn't make sense.
I don't get it. I mean, maybe it's a really high-graded raw coffee. I don't know. I can't tell because it's not on the bag. But don't spend your hard-earned dollars on that inventory and then cover it in syrup.
Cover it.
Wouldn't highly not suggest. It'll taste better on its own.
That's like buying the best steak in the world and then covering it in A1.
Yeah, or ketchup.
Yeah.
So this is that program I was talking to you about. So as you can see, it's got my green inventory, which we're getting to the last of this one, so if you haven't tried it, highly suggest Valeria Pino, Colombia Natural. So this is our reference curve that I'm gonna try to follow on this batch that we're about to drop right now. And I'm gonna try to talk you through this as much as I can while I'm doing it, but I'll probably get distracted and I might miss some benchmarks here.
It's okay, I'm just excited to see this in action.
But yeah, so this is a super cool coffee from, again, it's a Colombia, naturally processed Colombian, from unblended coffee importers. I've known them since I started in coffee out in South Carolina. Cool just to watch that business grow, again, from knowing Lucas, small import company founded by Lucas and Sofia Cuadros out of Colombia. So getting to know Lucas when he was just starting as an importer, having his sister come onto the team and watch them both grow individually, together, watch the business grow, and then being able to work with them, obviously, and bring in amazing coffees. And Colombia's cool too, because they're doing super cool shit. So like, you can get this coffee from Colombia that tastes completely different than another one that you're gonna get from just down the road. Like, very big assortment, variety of.
Is it Colombia that's still like the #1 exporter of coffee in the world? Because they were at the top for a while,
It's
weren't
up there.
they?
I think it might be Brazil.
Is
They're
it
pretty
Brazil?
big too.
Yeah, they got a little more square footage.
All right, so where'd I put that coffee? All right, so roaster's preheated. It's been running for quite a while now. I've got set charge temperatures that I drop certain coffees at, whether it be a washed or a naturally processed or a honey processed. And then also batch size determines what I'm gonna drop them at. So this one is again, naturally processed Colombia, and it is now in the drum. Started up top in the hopper, now it's in the drum, it's spinning around, there's a flame underneath it, and it's just gonna do that for approximately the next 11.5 minutes. And then we're gonna drop it, and it's gonna smell great. So yeah, again, with this coffee, cool story. They have a mentor-mentee program. Because the average age of a coffee producer in Colombia right now is like 56, might even be higher. That was a couple months ago, and it's continually going up.
Wait, it's going up and not down?
Yep. So
is it just because like people are living longer and working longer, or what?
That, and again, they're all like generational farms, but the kids don't want anything to do with it. Like, there's no money in it, there's not enough money in it, and they could go to college, go to school, go work in the city and make a better living than continuing their family's legacy or tradition or whatever you want to call it.
So they're kind of having the same issue that farms in central Minnesota are having.
Yes. So yeah, they have a mentor-mentee, as you can see, making coffee farming an exciting career path. That's one of their mottos, slogans, and then an invitation to rethink the conventional. So yeah, their mentor-mentee program. So they have older farmers that have been doing it for a while that are super knowledgeable, and then they have a bunch of very, very young producers that they bring on as their mentees. All they do is show them small, minute things that they can do during growing, harvesting, processing, the preparation of the coffee itself that will vastly improve the quality and then thus improve the price coming back to the farm. So yeah, when Valeria came onto the unblended team, I believe she was 16 years old. At this point, she's 18. I brought that coffee in last year, so she was 17. But yeah, she was working with their oldest mentor, Jaime Lopez, who's, again, at this point, 74, and he's been growing coffee his entire life. So he's their guru. But yeah, we're getting to the last of this lot. I initially bought 2 bags of that, so it wasn't a lot. 20 kilos, so 40 kilos of it. Went through it pretty quickly, and usually with the limited release stuff, I won't keep it very long, just to keep stuff fresh, keep people's interest, I guess. But selfishly, I loved that coffee so much that I called back and I was like, how much more of that do you have? Because I knew it's a once in a lifetime lot.
Yeah.
Like, they're not gonna grow that together probably ever again, right? So yeah, I loved it so much, and I was like, how much of it you got left? And I bought the rest of that lot. So that's what we're still working on, pushing through.
How often are you getting beans in? Like, is that like
too
weekly,
often.
monthly?
I wish that I had the capacity of, bigger roasters that could project that and buy it by the pallet so that you only have to do it once or twice a year. And fortunately enough, like, we're in a pretty big period of growth as far as wholesale roasting. So every week you think you know what you need, and we talked about this before, and you're wrong. Which, again, good problems to have, but like 2 weeks ago, I completely ran out of espresso blend components. And naturally, as soon as I got rid of the last of it out the door to a different customer, I got a phone call or an email that said, hey, we need 10 pounds of espresso before the end of the week. And it's like, fuck. I got nothing. So with that stuff, thankfully, a majority of the blend components still come from Cafe Imports, which is like the #2 largest specialty importer in the world, and they're headquartered right in Minneapolis.
Oh.
And they have a warehouse in Roseville.
Well, that's convenient.
So yeah, that's super convenient, which is why I keep the blend components coming from them, and I don't have to worry about anything. Like everything that they source, I know that it's sustainable, it's ethical, the farmers are getting paid more than a fair wage. I don't have to worry about any of it. I don't have to do any background work because I know that they care probably more than I do. And I care a lot. So keep that stuff coming from them because that's as simple as, again, pick up the phone or send an email, says, hey, we need to release 2 bags of this or 2 bags of that, whatever it is. And they're like, yep, sent it to the warehouse. It's ready for you tomorrow morning. Or if you really need it today, we'll put a rush on it.
Yeah, get it up
leave
to
now. So that's super simple as opposed to, again, last week, 2 weeks ago, contracted almost 1,000 pounds of Guatemala from a different importer that's also doing some really cool shit, but that one's gonna be warehoused out in New Jersey.
Okay.
So like if I'm running that in a blend, which I will be, but that one I'm probably just gonna buy the whole pallet so I have it all.
Yeah, it's a little bit harder to get it from New Jersey in a pinch.
Yeah, exactly. And you gotta pay freight, which sucks. Thankfully, a bunch of the other coffees, so like the new Columbia that's coming in, that one's gonna be warehoused in same warehouse in New Jersey. Thinking about bringing in a Burundi.
What's a Burundi?
East Africa.
Okay.
So I'll probably bring the Rwanda back and then a Burundi natural. So super bright, super fruity, both going to New Jersey. And thankfully, everybody over there, everybody in the industry in itself is cool. So it's like, I need to consolidate a pallet.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to pay $300-400 on freight on 4 separate half-quarter pallets.
Right.
And they're like, yep, just send us the whatever information they need, the delivery confirmations or whatever it is, and they're like, we'll build you a pallet, and then you only have to pay freight on one. So you have,
That's really nice.
10 different bags of coffee from 4 different importers from all over the world coming on one pallet. So it simplifies that.
This is like, I guess I never gave it too much thought as to how coffee was roasted. Seeing this in like the control panel and adjusting the flame, and there's a button here that says roasting fan control. Like this is,
it can be simplified. It can be simplified, but it's probably not going to taste as, the end product ain't going to be as good. And they have automated roasting programs at this point, which I could have got this to be automated, but I think it takes the fun out of it, takes the craft out of it, takes
it needs that human touch.
the human touch out of it. So yeah, my automation is having previous profiles that I know taste really, really good and that ran really, really good through the roaster. And then I just sit here and try to stay on track. But you can see, like I said before, like it's a little bit off, right? So I could have tried to up the gas and get right back on top of that profile, but it's
following the same arc.
It's consistently off, right?
Yeah.
So like that is the time frame for my previous drying phase, and that was this one. So it's probably just going to end up getting added, add 30 seconds to that phase, add 30 seconds to that phase, and it ends up tasting the same on the table.
Right.
So,
this is so fascinating. I love this kind of stuff.
but yeah, we got sidetracked. Where to start at this point? 3 separate phases. There's your dry phase, which is pulling the rest of the moisture out of the bean. So they come to me at about 10 to 12% moisture content, and that's just pulling the rest of it out.
Okay.
And then this is when they actually start to change color, turn brown, the caramelization stage, the Maillard phase. And you can see now they're getting cooked. They're brown. Not brown, they're tan, they're changing color. And that's a trier. So as your roast is progressing, you can pull that, sniff it, and you'll notice that the fragrance, the aroma, whatever that one of those 2 words, that changes as well. Okay. So right now we're probably at like the baked cookie stage, whereas right here we would have been at like the baked bread stage, or actually grass, dried hay, baked bread, cookies. I already missed the gas adjustment, so we might go a little bit quick here. And then as we get to the end, this one's gonna drop and it's gonna smell like fruit. Couldn't tell you what type of fruit. It's gonna
smell like fruit.
Yeah.
Fruit in general.
If I could leave this specific coffee like in the cooling bin all the time, I would, because it smells.
It's just got that perfect scent to it.
So good. But yeah, so I'm just adjusting flame, my air control, which on the previous roaster that I worked on, I did not have this much control over the roast. So like my air settings, I had no air, I had 50% air, and I had full air.
That's it?
And that was it. And now I have all of it. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50%, whatever it is. So I have a lot more control on this machine than I did the previous one. And then also drum speed control, which plays into like batch size. So the bigger batch size, I'll speed it up.
Okay.
Because it'll start to get roasting defects. We're about to drop. I turn the cooling fan on now so that when I drop it, if I drop it at whatever temperature I drop this at, that's the peak that I want it at, which is right now. So that is the maximum temperature, and then it immediately starts cooling,
starts coming down.
Rather than spinning on itself with no air and then it gains a degree or two. Because that, again, will change the complete 1 or 2 degrees in the cup is going to vastly affect the end flavor. So yeah, like this one right there, that's a no-go, that's a no-go, that one's okay. That one right there is a big no-no. Again, that's what's nice about having the drum speed control. Sorry, we're gonna have to yell because it's a little bit loud right now. But if I kept the drum speed where it's at right now, and then I did like a big batch, like a 20 or 18 pound batch, this was only 3 pounds. So I've got a huge window on this machine. But if I were to keep the drum speed where it's at right now and I ran a 20 or an 18 pound batch, I would have a ton of roasting defects, like discoloration. Some of the beans would be burnt black and the other ones would be like underdeveloped like that. So having that drum speed is a huge benefit.
Yeah, I mean, the color is nice and even on them. It's crazy.
So yeah.
You just have like a good eagle eye for like...
Fun stuff.
This is so fun.
Yeah, well, yeah, and then they get added to my bucket of beans over there, my defects. I also have a bucket over there that has rocks and beads and other accoutrements that end up in the bag. So that's always fun to see what shows up, prayer beads and stuff. Just another cool connection to the farm, to the mill, whatever.
It's coming from someone's farm. Real people work with
It's a personal
this.
touch, you know? You definitely don't want to run it through your $400 burr grinder. Again, I do my best to make sure that that does not happen.
This one
Knock on wood.
just really dark.
No, we'll probably pull that one. I mean, it's a natural processed coffee. So that one could just be that it has a little bit more sugar on it. So like specifically the time and the temperature that I took this coffee to on a washed coffee would be like super, 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 super light. And if I took this coffee to the same light profile that I would on a washed coffee, it'd be burnt black.
Okay.
Because there's so much sugar still on the outside of the bean from the way it was processed, from the way it was dried. So this one you have to adjust and roast it a little bit lighter. Trade secret, don't steal that, people.
Secrets.
Please keep burning your naturals. And then like a Guatemala that I roasted for a customer yesterday. Just like a one-off guy that buys beans out of Guatemala and wanted somebody local to roast them for him for his own use at home, which we do that. So if you are one of those people, hit me up. But that one was like a super resilient bean and I roasted the piss out of it. Far past what I would ever roast anything, and it still held up. Like I figured it was gonna come out scorched earth black, but it still looked just beautiful brown, no oil. I'm waiting for it to open up and like get oily, but I don't know if it will. Because he brought a sample of what was previously roasted for him, and that's what he's been drinking. Because the first batch I dropped was what I would call a solid medium.
Okay.
But compared to what he brought me, that stuff is motor oil black.
Fully
so it's like,
leaded.
all right, that's what you like. I understand. It's not my green coffee.
Right,
I don't
you're not
care,
drinking it.
I guess. But I couldn't even get it to look like that. So I don't know. Again, time temperature thing. Maybe it'll open up, but yeah, so we'll give this a second.
So then do these just hang out, or what's the next step?
For now, yeah, we're gonna leave them hang out.
Hang out?
Typically, I have like a between batch protocol. So I'll run the fan and the spinner for a certain amount of time with this door open to lose a lot of the energy. And then at a certain time frame, I'll shut the door, or a certain temperature, I'll shut the door, let it regain its own energy, shut the spinner off at a certain point, shut the fan off at a certain point, and then kick the gas back on, the flame back on, to gain the rest of the energy to my next charge or drop temperature. And that typically is about 5-6 minutes in between batches. So this, on a production day, this would sit here until the next batch is in and rolling with my flame back on, everything like that, to that first 4 to 6 minutes in the dry phase, when I know it's just gonna do what it's gonna do, because I don't make any adjustments for a certain amount of time, and then I can walk around, I'll go clean the bucket out, drop this coffee, but yeah, I would sit in here for probably 7 to 10 minutes until the next batch is in and going, and then get it out, get ready for the next one. And I have forgot to do that. And then you get to the very end of the next roast and you're like, oh, all right, everything is right on track. And then you look over and you got a bin full of fucking beans and you're like, and your brain snaps in half.
Panic.
So you got to run over, get a bucket, clean a bucket out, get this stuff out. And typically when I do that, it's like a 15+ pound roast. So it's not coming out quick. Like it's going to take a couple minutes for all that to get out. So I'm fucking shoveling beans out. Meanwhile, this one is like 2 degrees off and you're just trying to make sure that you're dropping the next one and not over roast the next batch and get that one out and the door shut so that you can open that door and not lose your beans on the ground as they come. It's a fucking mess, but it's fun. Like I said, you learn something new every day.
It's fun. It's all part of running a business and being a coffee roaster. This is absolutely incredible.
So yeah, this is by far I think my favorite one that's come through the roastery at this point, still to this day, even though it's been around for almost a year now. You know, that's my fault. I loved it too much. I had to buy the rest of it. And then yeah, as this sits, it's gonna start to really degas and get some flavor, some scent to it. I'll bag one up for you. But yeah, I want this to be, you know, again, someplace that you can come get some really good coffee, get a story along with it, get your homebrew stuff.
Get a local coffee guy.
And look through this back door and see me working back here like a little monkey in a zoo and roasting coffee. At some point, I'll probably try to do public tastings, cupping, stuff like that. But again, one man crew for now.
A man with a dream and
7 days a week.
the ability to make coffee like a king.
So all that's coming, just time and patience, which thankfully everyone has been very accommodating to that so far.
There's something special about central Minnesota where we want to see other central Minnesotans doing cool things, succeeding, creating great products.
Well, I mean, and like the Saturday morning market, the St. Cloud Farmers Market, like the line for that thing it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts, right? And it always pains me to see it because I would hate to stand there and wait for something. But like to this day, again, knock on wood, not a single like shitty person that is like gets up to the bar, to the cart, and like has anything bad to say about how long they had to wait. Maybe it's just the quality of what they're waiting for and like the finished presented product. Because that's another thing, like I will never hand you a latte that I have not tried my hardest and my damnedest to make look good. Like if I steam your milk like shit and I can't pour something that resembles latte art or that I wouldn't want to drink, I'm gonna throw it away and I'm gonna remake it for you. That's just, again, that's the quality of product and standard that I'm trying to put out there. And again, so far no one has had anything negative to say about having to stand in line. So to all of you who are listening who have been in one of our lines, I appreciate that. Come to Coffee Fest. That's always a fun line to see.
I've been trying to get a hold of them. I want to have them on the podcast too.
They actually started doing their own podcast now too.
Did they really?
Yeah.
That's exciting.
More like locally, not coffee podcasts, but like just local people, not influencer people, but
people in the community.
People, yeah, whatever you want to call it.
Very cool.
I left the lid over there.
So I have to live with my parents next week. I'm golfing in a all-week golf tournament in Alexandria, and my mom is where I get my coffee love from. I'm going to be the favorite child for a week when I show up with this coffee.
Do you have a grinder?
She does, yeah.
Okay.
We move it out to the lake for the summer.
So I would normally like give you one of the bags that's rested and ready, but since we roasted this together today, you get to take this one. And maybe I'll send you with something that is drinkable tomorrow or today.
So do you ever have anyone that like helps you with like the bagging and all of this stuff, or is it all you?
I don't know why I had to think about it for so long. I was trying to think if I've had anybody come in and help bagging other than for the collab that we did with Kaeter Coffee for the Christmas coffee, the holiday coffee, the Jamaica. Their roaster Owen came in and helped bag all that stuff up just because we did it together and they were taking half of it to their shop. But no, other than that, even on the biggest, we did like a 350 pound order last summer, maybe 2 summers ago, last summer, for like a local Minnesota coffee subscription where every month you get a coffee from a different roaster in the state. And that's when I found out that my roaster was hooked up improperly. So my gas, I couldn't go over a certain gas setting without it shutting off. So I had a full 20 pound batch in the roaster and I kept losing flame, so I wasted 20 pounds of coffee. And that's when I found out that it was not running correctly. So I got it fixed, grateful for that, but Wasted a bunch of coffee. So this is this is the normal packaging. We run black bags. This is our bird-friendly Guatemala organic, but this is our new packaging for our female producer series.
I love it.
So right now we're running, again, that Colombia Natural, Valeria. That one we just released is that Honduran honey. Delmi Hernandez is the producer for that one, so she gets a bag. The next Colombia that we get, everything I brought in from them at this point has been from a female producer, and that's kind of what sparked this. I don't know why, but as I'm cupping the coffees as they send them to me, like it just always ends up. It's just how it worked out.
Just how it is.
Everyone I've picked from them, it's like another female produced coffee, another female produced coffee. So
I love this. Thank you so much.
absolutely.
This has been such a treat. I'm so glad that we got to do this. Let's do it again. There's more I know that you can share with me.
Again, big things coming before the end of the year, I guess. Well, ish.
Give or take.
Beginning of the year. So yeah, we'll
Super
have
cool.
to do one for that space once that's up and running and going. And then I can shift gears back to this, and then that's probably it. I don't want to get too much bigger than that, because then you start to lose sight of what you're doing.
Very true. Well, if people want to follow you, find the coffee carts, where should they go?
Website, a full retail online store, subscription services, weekly, bi-weekly. I think we even got tri-weekly now. So if you're in between, every 3 weeks or a month, whatever, online subscriptions, you don't got to worry about it. It just comes to me. I roast it fresh, bag it, send it on its way. So that's just www.eminentcoffeeroasters.com. Social media is primarily Instagram, just at Eminent Coffee Roasters. I'm also on Facebook, but Facebook's become a mess in the past couple of years, so I try to stay away from it. But it's still there because it's Meta and it runs the other one, so I got to use them. Same thing with that, at Eminent Coffee Roasters. No TikTok, no Tiki-Taki, nothing else, just those two. The carts, weekly. You can find us throughout the summer, St. Joe Farmers Market, 3 to 6 at the Lake Wobegon Trailhead. Saturday morning, Farmers Market in St. Cloud, 8 to noon. That one is nuts, so bring an umbrella if it's hot and sunny and some water. But please do come see us. Other than that, I don't know, around, out and about, send us an email or an Instagram message if you want your work to pay for some really good coffee. We'll bring, again, cafe experience to you. The mobile carts are for hire, whatever you want to call it. Private events, business events, personal events, what have you. If you want to switch up your wedding and have another option during cocktail hour, we'll gladly come out, serve for that. Sober weddings are becoming a thing, so if you're interested in having something other than booze, otherwise we make a mean espresso martini.
I was just going to say, that's like the hot new trend. I'm sure you guys are crushing that.
And another one, check out the video on Instagram, the Carajillo, even better than an espresso martini.
Okay.
Beautiful, beautiful little drink. But yeah, right now, just the carts. Well, wholesale partners, obviously. Oblivion, downtown St. Cloud, Copper Pony, Sauk Rapids. Backwards Bread, they're serving the Mexico single origin, have been for quite some time on brew. If you're ever up in Brainerd, Nisswa area, the Spot 371, another one of our partners. He also owns Northern Gifts and Sweets in Nisswa, and they're starting coffee too. So
very cool.
Check it out.
Awesome. I'll make sure I get links for all that in the show notes below so you guys have easy access. But Josh, this was a treat. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was fun.
So excited.
Thank you again for checking out another episode of the Small Town Tourist Podcast. If you're looking for more content from the Small Town Tourist, you can always find me on Instagram at the Small Town Tourist and at the Small Town Tourist on Facebook. And you can check out the blog as well, thesmalltowntourist.com. I will catch you next week.